Today I want to circle back and talk again about family routines, home schedules, and all those things that are part of our life and how we reevaluate them over time. You know, when I'm thinking about home schedules and family routines, I don't often use happiness as my underlying reason to do it. What will create happiness in my home? But why not? Today I'd like to explore that idea of things to include in your life if you want to include more happiness, more contentment, more enjoyment. Hi, I'm Kenna. I help parents inspire an environment of learning in their home. I'm glad you're here. So who doesn't want a family culture that leads to happiness, right? That's something that every parent desires, every human being desires for themselves and their children, right? A few years ago, I watched a fascinating series called The Longevity Project, where they went around to all the areas of the world where they had a large section of their population that lived to be over 100 years old, and they discovered a lot of things. They collected a lot of data and shared a lot of interesting things. And the thing I want to share today with you is what they said about happiness. They said, countries with the highest happiness are interested in living a high-quality life, not necessarily a long life. Happiness is more correlated with simplicity, mindfulness, family, community, compassion, and gratitude. This is fascinating on so many levels. If you really want to think about happiness, I love to study happiness actually, and I've read a lot of things about happiness, and this is something that is just food for thought, right? You could spend some time really picking this quote apart and figuring out some things in it. Today I want to explore how this can help us evaluate our home routines, our family schedules, how they're working. But it could also be used to examine your inner self, your inner person, you, right? And just see how you're doing on your happiness level, if your life is one that cultivates happiness. Is your family routine optimized for happiness? Evaluate yours by asking yourself these questions. Is your family routine simple or complex? And what would you change to add more simplicity to your schedule? Are you focusing your whole self on the part of the routine that you are engaged in at that moment? Are you being mindful with your time? I have actually a YouTube video on being present with your kids. I'll link that in case you want to watch that and review that. But that's another question to reflect, because mindfulness actually is correlated to happiness. Does your schedule include enough family time? Does it include enough cohesive family building activities? Does your schedule include enough community time or community building activities? Now this is a hard one. Some places have really great communities and some people have really great communities, and those that don't are not quite sure how to create one. And I encourage you, if you don't have one, to create something. It can be really small. I always created mom groups. I created love of learning groups where the kids would come and we would explore a subject together. Those were really fun. There's somebody now in my homeschool community that's just doing baseball days. They get together, Sandlot style, she calls it, because it's just neighborhood kids getting together and playing baseball. So whatever you're interested in, you could create something and reach out to the homeschoolers in your community or your neighborhood, the kids in your neighborhood, and just create something that might add some community. And if it's something that you enjoy, then maybe like-minded families will be drawn to enjoy, and you might be able to make some connections that way. Does your family schedule incorporate compassion and gratitude? And what can you do to cultivate that, to add things into your schedule that cultivate that? And how did your schedule measure up? This is just something to think about as you evaluate your schedule and evaluate the feeling in your home. And if it's producing happiness, then that's probably a good sign that things are working, right? If it's producing discontent, if it's producing contention, or even just pushback, to the way things are, then maybe these elements, thinking through these elements might be able to help, because these elements are correlated to happiness. So let's list those things one more time that the Longevity Project people found are more correlated with happiness in these places where they live long, healthy, happy lives. They were simplicity, mindfulness, family, community, compassion, and gratitude. How will you incorporate those into your life? If you want, visit my website to download something that I made just for my YouTube watchers. about how to cultivate an environment of learning in your home. I will link that below in the description box. Thanks for watching. Here's to you for cultivating a home environment of happiness and learning. You've got this.